All right, welcome. This is Sciatica Relief Now, kicking sciatica in the butt, presenting kicking sciatica and piriformis syndrome out of the butt. My name is Dean Volk. I am so glad you are with us today. It is September 22nd. Who is this webinar for? This webinar is for anyone who is dealing with sciatica or piriformis syndrome. This webinar is for you if you're frustrated with the lack of answers and real solutions to your problem. It is for you if you've been dealing with sciatica or piriformis syndrome for 6 or more weeks and you're losing hope that you will be back to your old self. It's for you if you have not found significant relief. It's for you if you want understanding as to why what you've been doing has not been working. And it is for you if you're serious about wanting help. Do any of these stories sound familiar to you? It all started slowly with an occasional discomfort when I would do yard work, housework, working out, going for a walk, playing tennis or golf, or any other number of reasons. But over time, it's become more and more intense and consistent. Initially, I noted some stiffness in the mornings, and over time, it would get stiff and sore after sitting for a while, and now the pain and stiffness is constant throughout the day. I noticed a pain in the morning, but the more I'm up and around, the better it feels. But if I'm up and around all day, at the end of the day and the next morning, it's significantly worse. I felt a twinge in my back, and it has slowly progressed to a constant nagging ache. It's only in my leg and my foot, occasionally in my butt, but my back feels fine. My back went out, or I slipped a disc, or I threw my back out when I woke up the day after a workout, when I bent over to pick up a pen or something up off the floor, when I lifted up my baby, when I swung a golf club, when I grabbed the groceries out of my car, when I stumbled over a curb, when I was involved in a car accident, or when I walked a lot on vacation or holiday, etc. These are all the top 6 reasons that I have heard from my clients who have had back pain and sciatica issues. So I'm not trying to read your mind, but I'm assuming some of these, if not just one of them, sounds very familiar to you. So why am I taking time to do this webinar? Number 1, I love helping people and hate hearing about and seeing their struggles. Number 2, after looking up information online about sciatica and piriformis syndrome, I, as a PT who have been doing this for more than 25 years, I got confused, and I assumed if I was confused, others would be as well, because they're wondering, should I bend forward or backward, because I'm hearing both? Should I stretch or not? Should I demand an MRI? Should I request to see a surgeon? Will this wrap or strap work? Do I use ice or heat? Does a TENS machine fix this problem? Is an inversion table helpful? I have a herniated disc. How come I'm not having surgery? What do I do? These are all the different things I saw when I looked up online, and it started messing with my mind as a physical therapist. And then I started looking into numerous Facebook groups. This was back in February and March. And I was reading how people were telling their stories, sharing their struggles, which to me is awesome, because it's great, I know, for people who are in pain and dealing with the problem to know that they're not alone. And these people were giving advice. And I realized at that juncture that I would have a place to be able to step in and help, because everyone's unique and different, and really what works for one person may not work for another. What worked as a miracle cure for Joe may not work at all for Steve, because even though 2 people may have the exact same diagnosis, their symptoms and the treatment can vary hugely. And oftentimes the symptoms can sound identical and you can relate to one another in the symptoms, but the source of the problem can be very different. And so the treatment can be different. So here I am, hopefully, just trying to simplify things, clarify things, and give some understanding. Then I started asking in some of these groups, how much have people spent on their care? And it ranged greatly from $70 to $100 a week to $1,000 in the first 5 to 6 weeks. Some people were telling me about the $3,000 or $3,000+ packages at various offices that they spent with no real relief. Those were, and to others who were spending $30,000 to $100,000 on every single treatment they could find, every possible gadget they can get their hand on, and anything to try to get relief. And you know what? I totally understand why people do this. It is crazy out there. There's so many people out there giving so many pieces of advice. There's so much that people offer to help, and so much of it is irrelevant to many people. It all depends on your symptoms. It all depends on the diagnosis. It all depends on where's the problem coming from. So there's not a one size fits all. So that's why people wind up getting frustrated. I see people trying things for months without any relief, without any problems, without any change. And then the next thing that comes along, that they try to do it for 1 or 2 days and they say it doesn't work. So there's a lot of variation going on and a lot of frustration and a lot of irritation by people, which is totally understandable. So who am I? On the top left corner, you can see me working on some patients. On the top right, you see me giving pretty much this exact webinar, except in seminar form, in one of my offices. Here's one of my favorite patients of all time. He's an 89-year-old World War II vet, the happiest man I think I've ever met. Had a really bad back problem, came in with a walker, left my office dancing and shuffling his feet, wanting to take his wife out, who was 20 years younger than him, and go out dancing together. And here is another one of my favorite patients, because her name is Betty White. And doesn't look like the real Betty White, because it's not, but when she told me her name was Betty White, we instantly had a connection, and I said, hey, do you mind if I use your picture? Telling people that I was able to treat Betty White. And at the bottom, if you have kids, you know what it's like to see them when they're young, to see them when they start graduating college, to see them last year at Christmas, all grown up, and the love of my life on the right, that's my wife, Trudy. So, who am I? My name is Dean Volk. I am an MPT PT. That MPT stands for Master's Degree in Physical Therapy, and the PT at the end shows that I'm a licensed therapist. A PT in America, which is a physical therapist, is the same as a physiotherapist in all other parts of the world. I have 26 plus years experience since graduating and becoming licensed. I have a master's degree, which is a 3-year postgraduate degree after college. In order to become a PT, you have to pass a national licensing exam. So just because you're schooled as a PT does not mean you can practice as a PT. I have 2 clinics in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and 1 mobile clinic that I recently started in Charleston about the same time that I started working online with sciatica relief now. So my question to you is, have you heard yourself ever say any of these things? Number 1, I don't know why I'm going through this. Number 2, I don't know what I did. Number 3, there is no comfortable position. Number 4, nothing I'm doing is helping. Number 5, why am I going through this? Number 6, I didn't do anything to cause this. Number 7, it hurts all the way from my butt to my ankle. Number 8, any little movement is absolutely excruciating. Number 9, I can't find a comfortable position. And number 10, if I could just get a little bit of sleep. And full disclosure, about 2 months after I started doing a lot of research, extra research into sciatica, and started working online with people around the world, my wife woke up one morning telling me she hurt from her butt to her heel. And I sort of chuckled saying, I know I've been studying this, so you can't be having pain because I'm an international sciatica consultant, hon. Can't be true. And she said, I'm sorry, anything I do, any little motion is killing me. And when she stood up, I knew she wasn't kidding me, because she stood up like a 90-year-old woman, hunched over, trying to shuffle her feet as slowly as she could. And every step, she would literally yelp. Started working with her that day. At 2 o'clock the next morning, she started mumbling these things. I said, what? And she goes, I don't know why I'm going through this. I said, hold on 1 second. And as the good, caring husband, I went to my computer and literally wrote down these things verbatim on what she said. And what's amazing is when I posted this in my Facebook group, it was the biggest response that I've ever gotten, because people could relate to all of it. So I've watched my wife go through it gladly. After 1 week of severe pain and activities, she was following my directions, and we got things taken care of. And within 2.5, 3 weeks, she was walking significantly back to her 4 to 7 miles a day. Hasn't looked back. continues to ice on occasion when she overdoes it during the day just to try to help avoid any possible issues. But just to give you a heads up, I know what it's like to deal with somebody who has extreme sciatica, and honestly, I had never seen anybody in that much pain, probably because I never got to see anybody on their initial exacerbation of pain. So it was painful, but at the same time, it was very rewarding because I was able to help her, and that sort of confirmed, okay, you know what? I know how to take care of these problems. There's simple principles that we'll go over a little bit later, but first, before we do, need to have an understanding of what is sciatica. And if you have sciatica, these pictures, one or all of them, probably look familiar to you and what you've experienced, or if you know of somebody who's experienced and you haven't, it's probably what you've seen on their face. So what is sciatica? In order to understand sciatica, we have to first understand what is the sciatic nerve. The sciatic nerve is a nerve that comes out of L4, 5, which is lumbar level 4, lumbar level 5, sacral level 1, 2, and 3. So your lumbar and sacral nerve roots out of those 5 levels combine to form the sciatic nerve, which is a medium thumb-sized thickness nerve that travels. You can see those nerve roots connecting towards the middle of the butt. They form that sciatic nerve, run down the back of the leg, and the picture on the right shows how it runs down the back of the leg, and it splits behind the knee and becomes 2 nerves, the tibial nerve and the common fibular nerve, travels all the way to the foot. So sciatica is basically a generic name, though it definitely does not feel generic, for any irritation anywhere along the sciatic nerve. So here's the different nerve roots. Here's the view from the front with everything removed. And typically on the right-hand side, the main areas of pain for sciatica, not the only, but the main typical regions are the middle of the hamstring, the middle of the calf, and the outside of the foot. If you don't have these, it does not mean you don't have sciatica. It's just those are the most common. And for those of you who have had sciatica, you know the symptoms can vary greatly from a little bit of tingling to severe pain to a little bit of ache, and anywhere from the low back to the buttocks to the hamstring all the way down to the foot. Any combination of those. Some people only have pain in the foot. Some people have pain in the foot and the hamstring. Some people have pain in the foot and the calf. Some people only have pain in the middle of the buttocks and the low back, with very little going down the leg until they do something or put themselves in a position that aggravates it. So, piriformis syndrome. What is piriformis syndrome? And for those of you who have followed me for any length of time, these 2 pictures probably look familiar because those are piriformis stretches that you can do in sitting or laying down. They accomplish the same exact thing, and they're given out all across the world for people with piriformis syndrome. And the big difference between what most practitioners do and what I do is that they have you stretch the piriformis muscle that's painful. I don't, and we'll go over why later. And you can see this person suffering from piriformis syndrome has pain all the way down their leg, starting in their butt. So in order to understand piriformis syndrome, you have to understand what the piriformis muscle is. And I highlighted piriformis muscle here. It is a muscle running right through the middle of the butt. And if you're very sharp, you can see that this is the same picture I used to show what the sciatic nerve is, because that sciatic nerve runs in very, very close proximity to that piriformis muscle. So it's no wonder why people who have piriformis syndrome are often diagnosed initially with sciatica, even if it's their piriformis syndrome. And there's some people who have actually had sciatica who have been diagnosed with piriformis syndrome. And here's a better picture. You can see it's a deep muscle. You remove the big gluteus maximus, and it's right underneath that and right underneath your gluteus medius. And it's a triangular muscle that runs from your sacrum out to the hip. So it helps move and stabilize that hip with motion. So piriformis syndrome, like sciatica, is sort of a generic term, even though, like I said with sciatica, it doesn't feel generic. But a piriformis syndrome is any irritation of the piriformis muscle that causes pain, whether it's a specific injury, whether it's a muscle spasm or tightness. Any problem in that piriformis muscle can be classified as piriformis syndrome. The symptoms are pain in the buttocks and hip, but due to the proximity of the sciatic nerve, symptoms can mimic sciatica in the pain, numbness, tingling, and electrical-like shocks from the butt all the way to the toes. They've done studies of the sciatic nerve to show that about 80% of the time, the sciatic nerve runs right below the piriformis muscle. In 5 to 10% of the population, it runs right above the muscle. And in 10 to 15% of those people, the sciatic nerve pierces right through the middle of the piriformis muscle belly. So it's no wonder that these symptoms and syndromes and problems are oftentimes intermixed with each other, misdiagnosed for each other, or diagnosed with each other. So my question to you is, which one of these things makes your back or leg pain worse? Standing, sitting, laying down or twisting, leaning backwards, walking, bending, or is the pain just constant and unrelenting? And the number one mistake that most people make initially when these symptoms start, because people don't typically have severe pain out of nowhere, similar to what my wife had. That morning she woke up, never had any back issues, all of a sudden, boom. But most of the time these start off slow and progressive, and the biggest mistake they make is because they ignore their pain and symptoms, simply because they figure, you know what, it's just gonna go away on its own like it has so many other times in the past. And if you're like me and over 50, the older you get, the slower you are to recover, and the more intense the pain can get before you actually go, all right, I need to get some help. So let's talk about the 3 most common causes of back pain and sciatica. We're just sort of gonna run through these real quickly. I don't wanna get into depth with this. I wanna do more in helping you out right away and seeing what we can do. The 3 main causes: number 1, a bulging or herniated disc. Number 2, stenosis, DDD, which stands for degenerative disc disease or arthritis. And number 3, sacroiliac or SI joint dysfunction. Let's go through these really quickly. A bulging disc. A bulging disc in the spine typically moves backwards towards the spinal nerve roots. And if that bulge touches a root, this can cause pain along the entire distribution of the nerve. Since the nerve roots form the nerves that run into the leg, pressure on these roots can cause pain all the way down the leg into the foot. It can cause tingling as well. And here's just a couple pictures to show. It's old school to explain it like this, but the disc in your back is basically a jelly donut. You've got fibers around the outside. This is a healthy disc here, and inside is sort of a gelatinous material that as you bend forward, the back side here stretches and it starts to weaken over time, and that fluid starts to leak out. When it leaks out, it's actually a herniation. If it's just pushing back and it's bulging against the walls, it's called a bulge. So here's a bulge, and here's what a herniation looks like, looking at somebody from the side. Stenosis, degenerative disc disease or arthritis. Stenosis simply means narrowing of the spine. This can be caused by several different degenerative processes: degenerative disc disease, degenerative joint disease, and other types of wear and tear. Some people are even born with a certain amount of stenosis compared to what the normal is. And as the space around the spine narrows, nerves can get pinched. So here's a couple pictures to give a little bit of an understanding of what it looks like. Here's what a normal spine looks like. And when your discs start degenerating, you can see how the spaces get much smaller. You can see little bony spurs. And this does not show what happens to these discs, these nerve spaces. So I added this picture, and you can see all the white around here, which shows how much space there is around the nerve. But you can see what happens when a disc is compressed here at L4-5. And you can see how that can get pinched because the space becomes narrower. Last but not least is the SI joint dysfunction. And the SI joints are where your pelvis connects to your spine. It's the low back dimples on either side of your low back. People with SI pain typically have pain that they can touch when they push on the joints. Usually they have buttock tenderness as well. And here's what your SI joints look like from the front. You can see how big they are, and there they are in the back. Those dimples are right where your sacrum and your pelvis come together. So to determine what you might have, this is a quick, easy way to tell what you may have. It's not 100% foolproof, but if your pain decreases when you lean back and increases when you bend forward, your symptoms are most likely related to a bulging disc, simply because as you bend forward, that bulge gets pushed back farther and into the nerve root. If your pain decreases with bending forward and increases with bending backwards, the issue is most likely caused by degenerative disc disease, arthritis, or stenosis, because as you go forward, you open up those spine openings in the back, freeing up the nerve. And if most of your pain is severe with sitting and neither leaning backward nor forward aggravate the symptoms, it's most likely common that it's an SI joint problem. But if you have piriformis syndrome, anytime you sit, it's going to be painful. So it may not necessarily have to do anything with your SI joint. I just wanted to make that distinction. But now there is good news. Actually, there is some great news for you if you have been diagnosed with herniated disc or bulging disc. And here it is. I'm going to show some following slides that show statistics of people who have absolutely no symptoms, but most likely their MRI or X-ray findings are worse than what most of you would have. Recent studies are showing and proving that disc issues can resolve on their own over time. They're not sure whether the disc is just reabsorbing its own leakage, whether the body detects a leaked disc as a foreign substance and attacks it, causing it to shrink, or it can be that there's just decreased water absorption capability from an injured disc, which causes the disc itself to shrink back into the spine, no matter, or into the joints, into the space where it belongs, into the disc, not into the spine. No matter what the reason, there's a definite decreased herniation and bulging as a result. So here's some eye-opening statistics for you. These are abnormal findings of people who have absolutely no symptoms going on in their back or their leg. Disc degeneration. 52% of 30-year-olds have some type of degenerative disc disease going on in their back, and absolutely no symptoms. By the time they're 40, 68%. By the time they're 50, 80%. And you can see how it increases the older you get. A disc bulge. By the time people are 40, 50% of people who have absolutely no symptoms in their back have a disc bulge. So just because you have a disc bulge in your MRI findings, it does not necessarily mean you have to have pain. This is supposed to be a helpful, hopeful chart for you to let you know that just because you have an abnormal finding on an MRI, it is not a death or a pain sentence for life. And even a disc protrusion, so that's a big bulge, or a bulge that goes beyond is actually leaking out. 1/3 of all 40-year-olds have disc protrusions and absolutely no symptoms. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of hope. Here's a little bit more hope and eye-opening statistics. Out of over 1,200 people without any symptoms in their neck were given MRIs. 75% of 20-year-olds with no problems in their neck had disc bulges. 87% overall of the people without symptoms in their neck had disc bulges. Going into the knee, there were 44 people without symptoms. They ranged from aged 20 to 68. 43 out of 44 people had at least one meniscus abnormality finding in their knee. And you know, if you go to the doctor with knee pain, they do an MRI, and there's a finding of some type of meniscus problem, they're going to go in and do surgery. So here is the low back people. Over 3,000 people without any symptoms. 80% of 50-year-old people had degenerative disc degeneration. So I would say that degenerative disc degeneration, DDD, arthritis, is a normal finding, because these are people without symptoms, over 3,000 of them, and over 80% of them had degenerative disc degeneration and absolutely no pain. Over 1/3 of them had herniated discs and absolutely no pain. And here's some more things for the hip and for the shoulder. In the shoulder, 53 people were tested from age 45 to 60. Nearly 3/4 of them had a slat tear. That's a labral tear in their shoulder. And if you go to the doctor and a complaint of shoulder pain, and you go and get an MRI and you're told that you have a slat tear, which basically means superior lateral, anterior, posterior labral tear, they're going to go in and repair it. Yet, 72% of people in this study had absolutely no pain. So, how do I treat any issue? And I don't care if it's sciatica, piriformis, shoulder, knee, hip, headache, jaw pain, TMJ, ankle issues. I use a treatment technique called total motion release. The founder of it is a good friend of mine. Now he is, never knew him beforehand, but I've become good friends with him ever since I started using his technique about 15 years ago. It's called TMR, Total Motion Release. Basically, the underlying principle is whenever there is pain, stiffness, tightness, soreness, or discomfort anywhere in your body, the body is amazing at continuing to function, and the body is amazing at compensating for itself. The only problem with this compensation is it causes imbalances, right side versus left side, whether it's tightening or loosening, compared to what your normal state is. What I do is I focus on clearing out these compensations first before attacking the issue itself. And what I'm finding is a lot of times when I clear out these compensations, the symptoms themselves become minimalized and often disappear. Now think about this for a second. If you see somebody walking around with a severe ankle sprain, they're going to be hobbling around, their shoulders are going to be jerking, their body's going to be jerking. Say it's their right ankle. Their right foot's not going to be on the ground as much because of the pain. Their knee and their hip are going to have to take extra force because their ankle is going to be quick to get off the floor, which means their left leg is going to be overworking. Their left low back is going to be taking more than the normal amount of pressure from walking, which means things are going to be out of balance. And if you've ever seen somebody walking with a sprained ankle, their shoulders are jerking, their arms aren't moving normally, so it's actually affecting every part of their body. In the same way, if you have a muscle tightness in your low back, guess what's going to happen? The muscles above and below are going to compensate. The muscles to the right and left are going to compensate, and that's going to spread throughout the entire body. So your whole body can be affected by one little issue. I'm finding a lot of times with people who have TMJ, really don't necessarily have TMJ proper, but they have stuff going on in their neck that's pulling on their jaw unevenly and abnormally, which is causing the jaw to pull and cause TMJ issues. What I do is I find what's comfortable, what's easy to move and not painful, and I focus on those activities. Because when you're moving something that's not painful and it's easy to move, it actually relaxes the body, it eases tension, and it calms symptoms compared to the painful motions. Because if you're going to move something that's painful or do something exercise-wise that's painful, it's going to cause the body to guard, to tighten up, to compensate. And what that's going to do is going to cause other parts of your body to overwork or underwork, depending on what the issue is. This is going to cause further imbalances and abnormal movement patterns, which aggravates the underlying issue even further. So that being said, I want to know if there's anybody on this call who would like some specific help, who's having an issue, and maybe we can try out a thing or two to see if we can help you out. Tina, since I can see you, you got any issues going on this morning? And I just unmuted you, so now I can hear you too.
Okay. A little bit. I still, my right low back is radiating to my inner thigh now, which is kind of strange. I don't know what's going on there.
Okay, what have you done for it?
Oh, nothing. It started yesterday, and I did a little bit of stretching.
Okay.
I did some of your, because it's on the right side. I did the twisting.
Okay.
25 times, and that's helped.
Okay, now you said you did the twisting, but did you do it properly and check the right side versus the left side?
Yes.
Okay, so you went to the easier side.
Yes.
All right, full disclosure here for everybody else who's on this call who doesn't know Tina, who has not seen her video. I've worked with Tina a couple times, 2 or 3 times. She was the lady who was not able to sit and who was crying by the end of the video that we did the first time, because she was able to sit. She's played tennis. Some of her symptoms have come back. We haven't talked in about 3 months.
Yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah, no, I'm not knocking. I'm just saying we just haven't talked in about 3 months. We've chatted a couple times on Messenger.
Yeah.
But, so right now you're having pain in your, what did you say?
Right low back, and it's radiating not in my buttock area, but kind of like a I don't know, I can't explain it. It's like it's shooting down my inner thigh. Yeah, it's kind of strange.
Let's try something just for fun. Let's have you take your slide back a little bit, and I want you to cross your right leg, your right ankle, like you're just sitting like a man.
Okay.
Now, is that the bad side or the good side?
That's the bad side.
Okay, that's what I wanted. Good. Now I want you to lean forward like you're going to stretch out your low back and tell me how that feels.
It's very tight.
Okay, sit on up, switch legs. Left leg over right leg, lean forward and tell me how that feels.
Not as tight, but of course I hadn't done much today, so.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'm just by looking at the screen, if anybody else can see, your face went down much farther on that left side than
Yes.
right. So what I want you to do, I want you to lean forward as far as you can on this side, so it's the looser side, and I want you to hold that for about 20 seconds and do that 5 times for me.
Okay.
All right, and for everybody else on this call, all I'm doing is looking for imbalances. Like I said, with total motion release, you're looking for imbalances, and then instead of treating the tighter side, sometimes it's painful, sometimes there's discomfort. I always look for the side that's looser, more comfortable, less restricted. And when I find that, I stretch it, I move it. Depending on what it is, it's either a stretch or a motion that I do on the good side, because I want to work the good side of the body, the side that's not painful, the side that's not sore, because I want the body to relax. So what we're going to do, we're going to have her do this 5 times. She's on number 2, and she's looking at the clock for 20 seconds. She's not counting and cheating like a lot of people do, which is awesome. She's a good student. So what we're going to do is have her go through this 5 times, and then we're going to see how does it feel. And then we're going to have her recheck her right side to see if we can loosen up her tight, painful side by stretching her looser, more comfortable side. Now, I just want to thank the 10 of you who are on right now. We got Berlina, Tin, Robert, somebody on their Mac Pro, Drone Z4, Deborah, Barbara, and Janice. We actually had like 52 people who had registered for this, which is awesome. And I'm happy that 10 of you were able to show up. And I know that the other 40 plus will be getting the replay of this if I can figure out how to do it in a nice way so that it's better than it was last time.
I lost you.
I did lose you. Where'd you go?
You got me?
Nope.
And it says on my tablet, it says you are unable to rejoin this meeting because you were previously removed by the host.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did cut you out because you couldn't figure out how to get out, and I just cut you out the last time. I'm sorry about that. All right. Do you have all those done, Miss Tina?
I do, yes.
All right, Tina. So what I want you to do now is flip the legs back, do the right leg, cross it over.
Okay.
Lean forward and tell me how it feels. And Drone Z4, sorry you don't have a cam as well. Oh, that's Bernadette. Okay. Now, how'd that feel on the right side there, Tina?
Okay.
What's so funny?
Oh, my goodness. You relieved it.
You relieved it? So how's your back pain right now?
Oh, it's gone.
Your back pain is gone.
You're so good. It's better. Yeah.
You make me look really good. Hey, Joni, AKA Robert, glad you're using the computer. I'm sorry, I'm reading people's chats as they're doing. So this was just to demonstrate the fact of the power of what happens when you use TMR for your treatments. And guys, I'm going to cut off. If you guys can cut your videos off, I'm going to get back to what we finish up this. If your video just went off and you didn't do it, don't worry. I did it. I'm going to try to figure out now how to get back without messing things up here. I did do it on my dry run this morning several times. Here we are. All right. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of hope, a little bit of encouragement, because I know what happens is most of the time people, when they go to get treatment, when they go to a therapist, and I love therapists, I'm a physical therapist, I do things differently than most though. By working the opposite side, we just totally took care of Tina's pain that she's been dealing with and has been frustrated with. That doesn't mean it's not coming back, but what it does mean is she knows what she can do when it does come back. And what I tell everybody is just because it comes back, don't assume that you have to stretch exactly what we just stretched in order for the pain to go away, because you do have to be diligent in checking both sides first, because very rarely, but on occasion, stretching the painful side might actually be looser, more comfortable, and less restricted than stretching the non-painful side. That's why I always check first. And in the groups, I'm always saying, try to stretch the opposite side, simply because people are saying, well, when I'm stretching my painful side and it's not helping. So if it's not helping, guess what? Try the exact opposite thing and see if it helps. So what I'm doing for anyone who's attending this live event, as you've noticed, I have not been doing any free video consults, just simply because I'm back in the clinic working a lot more hours, and I'm getting a lot of people that I'm doing video consults all over the world with. So my time's a little bit more valuable to me right now, and I can't just keep doing free consults. But anybody on this call who's live with me, you get a free 30-minute video consultation, because basically I just want to hear your story. I want to help you try to sort things out. I want to give some advice and maybe even an exercise or two.
Great.
With Tina, it doesn't take much to minimize pain and calm pain down when you're doing the right things. There's no strings attached. I'm not going to hold a gun to your head to say you must work with me or you have to do anything afterwards. It's just to say thank you for showing up and taking time to participate. And thank God there's only 10 of you here instead of all 50 of you, because we would have to string this out over a longer period of time. If you want that, on the bottom of every slide, you can see my email, or if you registered for this, so you already have my email. All you need to do is reply to one of the emails, and in the subject line, put free video consultation. You can put please if you want to, you don't have to. It all depends on who you are. I'm not gonna be offended either way, just so that I can be aware that you want one, and I will do my best to try to set these up as soon as we can. Like I said, things are crazy busy, and I'm not to the point yet where I have help who can set this stuff up for me, so it's just me doing it. I'm looking forward to getting to know your story and helping you out. This needs to be reserved by the end of tomorrow, though. So by the end of tomorrow, if you can email me and say you want it, great. If you don't, I won't be offended one way or the other. So there's no quick fixes.
Can I send you a text?
Sure, email would be better.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can just mute yourself too, sorry, because that'll pop you up on the screen. I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to get a good recording of this without our faces on there, and it should be recording without our faces. But what other people have said just after the free video consult, a lady from Michigan said, thanks so much. After the video call, I can now get up and down without that dragging pain. I'll keep up those exercises. Tina from North Carolina, who happens to be on this call and who happened to just get relief, said, I was skeptical of anyone claiming to be able to help me. I'd seen dozens of doctors who took my money and failed to follow through, but you have been the only one sincere enough. I'm so glad I took the leap of faith and found you. This is not a setup. I didn't know Tina was going to be on this call. I didn't know Tina was having problems today. So it looks like a setup, but honestly, it's not. And Peg from Florida wrote, I had the privilege of talking to Dean today via his webinar. And it's interesting, for about 4 months ago, it was only her on the webinar call. So we had one-on-one chat. If anyone has any sciatica issues, I strongly suggest you speak with this man. He took time with me, explained things so thoroughly. Plus the exercise he gave me to do, my pain level went from a 9 to a 1. Can't thank him enough. So please get in touch with him. No doctors, no tests, no chiropractors or exercises help me like Dean did today via his webinar and free consult. So if you're looking for more, most of you know that I have a free Facebook group, Sciatica and Piriformis Syndrome Support Group, or I think it's called Piriformis Syndrome Relief Group. You could look it up online. Please join if you're not part of it. You can visit us anytime at sciaticareliefnow.net to see what's up. You can always email me at info@sciaticareliefnow.net for information, for help. I try to get back to people as soon as I possibly can. Oftentimes it's within the hour if I'm not extremely busy. Otherwise, it's within a day or so. What's coming up soon is, number one, I'm looking to try to start some group classes, a maximum of 5 people. Basically, it'll be just like I just did with Tina here. We would have 5 people on the screen along with me, so 6 total, and we'll go around, talk about what's going on, show a couple people a couple exercises. Everybody will do the same exercise, different sides, depending on what their problem is. It will be $75 a class. If you're not 50% better by the end of that hour, I will give you your money back. So it's a money back guarantee, nothing to lose except some pain. It's an hour-long class, and it'll be 1 to 2 times a week on a first-come, first-served basis, and I'll have sign-ups for it. I'll let you know if you're in or which class you're in, and I'm working on the logistics of this because, like I said, my schedule's getting tighter. My evenings are getting booked, but I'm trying to figure out what's the best times for people for these types of things. Then the big thing that I'm working on, I'm going to have a Sciatica Relief Now membership site. It's going to be a private membership site that you'd have to become a member of this membership site. It's going to be a $24.99 a month commitment. No contract signed. You can join for a month and cut out. Actually, I think what I'm going to be doing is offering the first month for $9.99 so you can see what's going to be in it. Hopefully by that time you'll get some great relief and you'll see the benefit of continuing, because about once every week and a half or two I'll be adding things to it. I know I have 3 exercise videos up right now that are going to be distributed over the first week and a half or so of that membership site. So when you join, there's going to be introductions, there's going to be principles that you must follow with the exercises, step-by-step plan on how to decrease your pain. And what's cool about this is you're going to find that if you've got other aches and pains in your body and you're doing these exercises that I'm specifically putting for sciatica, other parts of your body are going to start feeling better, because what happens is when the body is balanced out and the imbalances and the pulling and the abnormalities are minimized, other parts of your body start to relax as well. So if you have a shoulder problem, try doing those rotations and see what happens to the easier side. Forget where your pain is, rotate to your right, rotate to your left, whichever side is looser, more comfortable, less restricted. Try doing that and see what happens to pain in the body. It's kind of amazing what happens. The membership site is mostly going to be a platform of exercises, video instructions, and explanations that are going to be updated every 2 weeks. It's going to take you from onset of pain to a full recovery, including I'm going to be doing videos with my son, who's a photographer. We're doing videos of, hey, you know what? How do you get in and out of your dishwasher, dryer, washing machine? How do you brush your teeth without pain? Because so many people wake up in the morning, they bend over, and it's like, there are different things you can do in the kitchen, in the bathroom, around the house. Who's ever not muted, please mute yourself. Just so that you can get a full package and a full deal. And the reason it's $24.99 a month is because I've spoken to many people, and most people have told me that they spend way more than that on medications a month, and said that $24.99 a month is less than they pay for one treatment at whether it be a chiropractor, osteopath, or physical therapist or massage therapist. So I thought, you know what? I know this is worth more than a visit, but I didn't want to make it so absorbent that people could not handle the price. So hopefully that's a price point that is beneficial to many. So for you who are serious about getting the help you need and deserve, if you're ready to start living with less pain and would like your life back, what would it be like if 50% of your symptoms were alleviated? And most of Tina's symptoms were alleviated in probably, let's see, 20 seconds times 5, that's 100 seconds of a stretch over 2 minutes where she felt almost total relief. Did you hear or see things today that make sense or that are different, or you want to find out if you can get the same reliefs as thousands of others of my clients have had over the last years? And are you dedicated and passionate about taking your life and health back as I am about helping you to achieve that? If so, I have 2 offers for you today to take advantage of. Number 1, today's special offers. I have video consultation packages available. Typically, my consultations are $100 for a half-hour session, one-on-one with me. We get through more exercises that then you would be able to remember. And so sometimes I videotape them if you request it. Otherwise, I will email you the exercises that you need to continue. Today, you can purchase a 6-pack for $4.99. So there's only 3 available. It's $101 savings over if you were to pay me each visit for 6. And I typically don't do packages. You can go to SRN Video Consult Discount 6 at paperform.com, but you do not have to worry about writing that down or memorizing that, because you have an email in your email right now that shows this as well as the next one, which is a free hour-long do-it-yourself online TMR session. This is done by Tom Baker himself, the founder of TMR. He takes you through a basic TMR activity so that you can see for yourself how it can help. I don't know if he goes through 1 or 2 activities, but he shows you how to grade things. He shows you how to progress. Most people see a 40 to 50% decrease in their pain by the end of this lesson. So those are the 2 specials for today. Hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of it. And like I said, if you registered for this webinar, you should have in your inbox already the email for that. And I missed the second exercise that Tina did. She only did 1 exercise. She just did the lean forward. And Atia, when you say easier side, do you mean the flexible side? So it could be the painful side? Yes. Let me clarify. What you do is you check out both sides, right side versus left side. Whichever side is looser, more comfortable, and less restricted, that's the side you exercise, even if that's your quote-unquote painful side. Because if it's not painful to do the stretch on that side, by all means, feel free to do the stretch. I'm always telling people to try the opposite side or their good side, their non-painful side, for the most part online when I'm just conversing with somebody, because they're telling me that when they exercise their painful side, it makes it worse. So if that makes it worse, then I would tell you, if doing the exercise that you're doing is making your symptoms worse, try doing the opposite side and see if it helps. I don't tell that to everybody. There are other things that you can do other than just 1 exercise. There's things you can do with your arms, with your legs. So I don't want people to get all caught up of, oh no, I can only do it if my right butt hurts, I can't stretch my right butt. But if stretching your right butt doesn't aggravate your pain and is loose and is comfortable and is not restricted, by all means, stretch that side out, okay? So with that being said, all I want to do from here, and I am locked out for some reason and things are not moving if you hear me punching my keyboard. What is going on? Let's see. There's the email for me, and it's just a thank you. I want to say thank you for showing up. Thanks for being here. Please take advantage of the free video consultations, the 6-pack video consults, or the free TMR course. All of this should be in your inbox if you did register for this webinar.